Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm constitutional attorney Catherine Henry, and I'm coming to you live today to give you some clarity on quite a bit of misinformation and negativity that's been floating out, spreading around recently. Some of you, really the main people this message would be directed to are those in Ottawa County and in the other districts, or excuse me, the other counties within the 2nd Congressional District. But also, quite frankly, this goes to the heart of what every true patriot and proud American is really fighting for these days. And so to that end, this video is also for just any true patriot, someone who loves the truth and the Constitution and Jesus, and they just want to see the good guys win for once. With that in mind, thank you for those of you who have already tuned in less than the first 2 minutes here. I got quite a few on Facebook and YouTube, and just want to address some very specific things. So I'm going to apologize ahead of time. Those of you who like to join on a video about one topic but like to ask me questions about other things related to the Constitution or other projects I'm working on, I'm not going to answer those questions today in this video because I need to keep things to the point. We have a 2nd Congressional District Caucus that is happening Tuesday, this coming Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. That's where the state delegates or alternates that will be elevated will be selecting some key positions for people within the Republican Party to be representing at the congressional district level and at the state level. We also then have our Michigan Republican State Convention on Saturday, February 6th, less than 1 week from now. And so to a certain degree, some of what I'm talking about will relate into that, but for the most part, talking about things that are leading up to Tuesday's caucus. So what I want to address is, let's just start with, there's so much negativity out there. There's so much misinformation. It's really hard to find one good cohesive place to start and be able to go from there in a way that's logical and makes sense. But I think I've kind of mapped out a way that would be easy enough to follow. So number one, let's start with the personal attacks. For those of you who have not heard any about me, that's awesome. And I really am thankful for that. But for those of you who have borne witness to the recent attacks against me, mostly in the last few days, but some in the last couple weeks and even in the last month or so, within the Republican Party, that's what I'm addressing. The very people that send out emails saying a house divided cannot stand, quoting scripture verses and things like that, are part of the very group of people that are causing division, that are throwing out personal attacks about me and sometimes about others. And I really don't see the reason for it. If you are good enough at your job, if you are good at what you do and you deserve the position for which you are running for office, then why would you need to resort to any of the negativity? Why would you need to resort to any falsehoods or attacks? Just stick to the facts, stick to what you're good at, and then ask people, encourage people to stick to the rule of law, stick to the procedures that were put in place for that particular meeting, convention, caucus, whatever at hand. That's what I'm asking people to do. I don't want people to vote for me simply because you suck as a human being. I want people to vote for me because I have earned it. So with that being said, let's just put it bluntly, there has been some recent commentary from some establishment Republicans saying things such as, I'm not a real constitutional attorney, that I have the same legal education as an unnamed other local attorney, and he's not a constitutional attorney either. Okay, to anybody who's really worried about that, I will say the only person that I know that's actually holding themselves out there as a constitutional attorney that is under no circumstances a constitutional attorney would be, gosh, what is his name? Is it Rick Martin? I think his name is Rick Martin. That guy with the Constitutional Law Group. He's not an attorney. And he, whether or not he's passed a bar exam, that's really not my point. My point is someone like that is dangerous because I've read the things that he's put out there, and I was hoping that there would be somebody else out there, regardless of whether they were an attorney or not, but just another human being, another American who loved the Constitution enough that he was going to help engage and empower citizens all across our country to fight back, to fight for our freedom. But his methods are not quite right, and his legal analysis is not accurate. And if you are a business owner and you're posting those signs that he's put out there, I would ask you to strongly reconsider that, or to at least read the statutes and other things yourself that he references, because they're not accurate. I have created my own version based on the thought behind what he was doing to encourage people to go ahead and post something like that if you're a business owner. I've been waiting on my team to give me final thumbs up or thumbs down, or if we need to make any other tweaks. But I do have a local business owner in the Caledonia area who I believe has the signs still posted as of a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So there is one version out there that is accurate. And trust me, I ask you to not just take my word for it. I ask you to anytime I'm telling you what the rules of something are, what the Constitution says, or what any part of the law says, I tell you the exact verbiage, or I tell you the exact part of the law where you can find it, not because I'm trying to put you to sleep, but because it's enough. It's enough that we have been lazy for so long that we just expect other people to hand us all of our information and then we run with it. No, we've been waiting for the media to give us the truth for decades, and clearly they're not going to. Well, we've seen enough leaders of both parties giving us enough misinformation to last a lifetime, that I want you to look things up. I don't care who you get the information from. Look it up. If you're not willing to look it up, then please don't be one that runs your mouth about it. Don't pass judgment on it. If you haven't looked something up, don't be one to vote on it, because we need truly informed people. Now, if people end up disagreeing with me in the end about a topic, because they feel like after they've actually read the law that applies, or read whatever facts are relevant to the matter at hand, and they still see it differently than I do, I can respect that 100%. There are differences of opinion on pretty much every issue that we have, right? What I care about the most is that we're doing things the right way. And these personal attacks on me have not been the right way to handle it. You Republican leaders, or even just members within the Republican Party that have been guilty of this recently, you know who you are. Some of you I know quite well. Some of you don't know me at all. In any event, none of you had any business trying to discredit me as a person, as a mom, as someone who, regarding my truthfulness or my integrity. Spreading any misinformation was definitely the wrong thing to do. We, as the Republican Party, are supposed to be Christians and constitutionalists above all else. If you're not willing to abide by those simple concepts, then please no longer call yourself a Republican, because those are the main concepts that bind us all together. But as far as my credentials, oh shoot, I was going to do this on my phone so I could walk it around. There's a video I did addressing my credentials back when Jack O'Malley tried this crap in June or July. And so I'm just going to go around right here. Okay. I'll start right there. I was first licensed as an attorney in the state of Minnesota. And that is my college degree. I think you guys can see that. And it's bachelor's degree. And then I have my Juris Doctorate, which is my law degree, which, yes, would be the same exact law degree that every other attorney essentially has. I have my Supreme Court of Michigan admission right there. I'm licensed also in the Eastern District of Michigan Federal District Court. What? Okay, stop though, dude. My Western District of Michigan Federal District Court. And then I guess you might as well mess up the rest of my desk. Go for it. My husband wants you to see that this is my United States Supreme Court admission that has my name on it, saying that I'm licensed to practice there too. He all kinds of messed up my desk now. So here's the deal. I've also spent, let's see, I've been working in the legal field since 2000 or 2001, so 20 or 21 years. I've worked at law firms, I've worked for the courts, I've worked as a state public defender. I've actually been a public defender in 2 different states. I've been a lawyer guardian ad litem representing children in abuse and neglect cases, also really ugly family and divorce and custody cases in 2 different states. I've been a family mediator and civil mediator in 2 different states. Been trained and experienced in doing agriculture mediation and rural development, child protection mediation, special education mediation, no-fault mediation for no-fault insurance cases, child support mediation, restorative justice, facilitations, and restorative practices within the educational system. I don't know, adult guardianship mediation, did I say that? Divorce, whatever. Whatever is out there, there's enough bio about me on my website and LinkedIn and other pages. Please take a look if you want the specifics. I don't want to bore you here, but I've been trained in many, many things, and I don't just stop at what the initial education is. I have hundreds of hours of continuing education since receiving my law school degree. So I've also passed the Minnesota bar on the first try as a single mom who, it was tough. I'll just put it that way. I ended up in the ER and would have my bar review materials with me, and the doctor would come in and say, well, now I know why you're here. You should be resting. Well, sometimes we just don't have that option. I've worked hard for everything I've ever accomplished. I've never been handed any position, any degree, any kind of anything. Every house I've ever bought, every car I've ever bought, every piece of education I've ever completed, nothing was handed to me. I worked hard for it. I moved out of my parents' house when I was 16, graduated from high school at 16, went right on into college at 16, already having college credits and even some law school under my belt. I just work hard. And if you want to outsmart me and if you want to beat me at something, maybe you should work harder than I am at the actual subject at hand and not at personal attacks, because my credentials speak for themselves. And if anybody questions whether I'm a constitutional attorney or not, let me just tell you, I just proved to you I'm an attorney. And I took the Minnesota bar on the first try and passed it, no problem. I then took the Michigan bar on the first try, passed it, no problem. I'm licensed also, like I said, in those other courts. The only one I don't have a certificate for on my wall is the Saginaw Chippewa Tribal Court in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, which is essentially its own country. And I am licensed there as well. So whatever issue there is with my credentials, I'm a real attorney and I'm a constitutional attorney. And back years ago when I would say, well, hey, I'm a bankruptcy and divorce attorney, there's no special law school to be a bankruptcy and divorce attorney, just the same as there's no special law school to be a constitutional attorney. For what it's worth, we all should be constitutional attorneys, because as attorneys in every single state, we take an oath of office to uphold the U.S. and state constitutions. So we should all be constitutional attorneys, but obviously we're not, because too many of them fight against the Constitution and what it stands for. I won't fight against the Constitution. I'm not going to play nice just to go along with some dumb rules that are instituted to make sure we are not following the Constitution. Some excuse as to why it's just easier not to, or it's just that's the way it's always been done, or, well, this is what so-and-so told me. I could care less. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to follow the Constitution. I'm here to do exactly what Christ is asking us to do and step up and fight against, read Isaiah, fight against the rebellious government, fight against those who are in leadership who are being rebellious and evil in nature. Follow what's true, follow what's right, follow the Constitution. So, with that being said, if you want to attack my integrity, how about this? Anyone who wants to attack my integrity from now on, instead of, like our county clerk, taking my name out of a, give me a second. Oh, and I see you're referencing, you want me to get in touch with two people that I don't know who they are. If you want me, if you want to address something I've said about the law or the Constitution, why don't you have the gumption to actually respond to me? Our county clerk decided he would do that in, I want to say, December, leading up to the executive committee elections for Ottawa County, that he wanted to say to everybody how I just didn't know the law. I mean, he didn't cite anything himself. He forgot how to read the law and the constitutional oath that he took, but he wanted to trash talk me and reference me by name, but didn't have the wherewithal to keep me included in that email. He purposely took me out of the loop of that email. I'm not sure what kind of integrity that shows. Or when we fast forward and we go to the county convention that happened almost 2 weeks ago now, and I raised points of order in an appropriate Robert's Rules fashion, and our county chair decides that she's going to just say, no, you can't do that, and then continue to ask for things in a manner that clearly violate any kind of rule of Robert's Rules of Order or any established and written rules of the MIGOP whatsoever. That's not showing integrity. And then fast forward when I'm simply asking to fill positions of precinct delegate, and I'm doing so in a manner that follows the state bylaws and follows the state rules, and was certainly respectful. I didn't anticipate a fight. I'm not sure why a Republican leader would shut down filling in Republican precinct vacancies when that is the appropriate time to do so. Since that's the last time to do so before the August 2022 convention or election in the primaries that year, I'm not sure why there'd be a fight about those things. But I tell you what, when I am raising a point of order or making a motion, and I'm doing so in the proper manner, and because it's now on Zoom, which is actually not legal or constitutional, and yes, that applies to the MRP, given the way that our system is set up here in the state of Michigan, then it probably wouldn't be the appropriate thing to do for Republican leadership, or specifically the one person involved, to hit the mute button so that my motion cannot make it in front of the entire delegation. Yeah, that's really not okay. If you have integrity, then you can win by doing it the right way. You can hold meetings in person. You can not mute people when you do have electronic meetings. You can respond to the person that sent you the message instead of responding to literally everyone else but that individual. You can make sure that you don't broadcast and send out mass emails bad mouthing people like the person who holds the keys to the Ottawa County GOP emails or Facebook page. Maybe if you think that there's a point of discussion we need to hash out, instead of emailing all delegates and all alternates and personally attacking me and trying to professionally discredit me, why not actually pick up the phone and talk to me or email me or arrange a sit down, a face-to-face conversation? We could do that. But of course, you don't want to do that, because then I would actually have a chance to show you that you're not actually following the real law. You're making stuff up as you go along. So with that being said, I can guarantee you that everything I've put out there on my website or in letters or emails that have actually come from me, all the law, the Constitution, the rules, it's true. And I cite it so you can find it and double check me. And if you think I'm wrong, I'm going to ask you, go double check me, because it's really in there. I mean, I'm not making this stuff up. I don't know why the other side is fighting so hard to make stuff up to stop me from asking us to follow the rule of law. We're supposed to be the party of following the rule of law, right? And so with that in mind, let me put it this way. If I had to choose between asking for you to vote for me and then obtaining your vote in the upcoming caucus, or quite frankly, in any election, or between following the law and the rules and the proper procedures and having things done the right way, if I had to choose between those two things, I'd, without any hesitation, in a heartbeat, ask for you to follow the proper procedures and rules and to do it the right way. It's not as important for me to win. I just want to know that we're doing it the right way. In fact, I'm only running to be someone on a committee that can help ensure that the party as a whole is going to start doing it the right way, to help from the inside out. Because when I've been in the lower level, so to speak, or on the fringe, I've just been seen as someone who's on the outside and, not playing nice with those on the inside. Okay, well, I don't play nice with people who violate the law. Just not my style. So if I have to choose between earning your vote for state committee woman this Tuesday, or between asking you to follow the rules and the proper procedures and state law and the Constitution, then I would say, don't vote for me. Please follow the proper procedures and the rule of law. That's what I would ask. Of course, if I can have both, that would be great. I'd love to have your support. So the irony, though, is that the people that are bringing all of these ridiculous things to the delegates as a whole, sending out emails to all of the county chairs as a whole, and then asking them to share that information back out with all of their delegates and alternates, and posting things on social media, those people are the ones that are saying a house divided cannot stand. So let's be clear. What is this all about? Well, I have some significant concerns about our caucus on Tuesday being done by Zoom. It is illegal. It is. It is unconstitutional. It does actually violate the party bylaws, the state party bylaws, and the state rules for the convention. And they did try to do a stopgap and apparently try to institute 2 new caucus rules. The caucus rules don't outweigh the bylaws. The bylaws control. And they don't outweigh state law. For those of you who don't know, the Constitution in our country rules over all political parties, private organizations, public entities, government bodies and government officials, everyone. It is literally the contract that we all essentially signed on to create and form this community in which we live together. If we're going to live together in this community, in this country, in this state, we have to be able to have a constitution of rules, a set of rules that we will all follow no matter what. And, we have a constitution that is the supreme law of the land, which is the US Constitution. And then we have our state constitution, which is supreme law of the land for everything in Michigan, but it's subordinate to the US Constitution. And then we have, in some communities, you have a city, for example, or, something like that. I think villages have charters too sometimes. That is essentially your local community's constitution. And so you'd have to follow that. Then you have state law. Okay, that's next. Then if you have local ordinances, that's, those are things you have to follow. Now within the party, you have the US Constitution, you still need to follow. The state constitution, you still need to follow. And state laws that are applicable. And there's some people that think the state party literally does not have to follow any state laws. Campaign finance law is applicable. The general election code in Michigan is definitely applicable. And the Open Meetings Act is applicable. And I've explained all of this in detail in other videos and certainly in different letter formats and bullet point formats, which is all on my website, restorefreedomkh.com. So if you'd like more information on that, I do encourage you to check it out. But I also want you to realize that within the MRP, we have the party the party bylaws, which is like the party's constitution. And then you have any kind of standing rules. And then you might have specific rules for a particular thing, like such as we have rules specific to the 2021 caucuses and conventions. And then below that, you have any congressional district kind of bylaws. Below that, you have any kind of congressional district types of rules of procedure. And then you have county bylaws and county rules for your county parties. We can't ignore all of that. So with that being said, I'd ask you to look at those documents. If you are a precinct delegate or an alternate, you need to read them. You can't just say that's for the attorneys. If you think it's too complicated, then you need to read through it and highlight it and make tabs on your notes and things so that you can be part of the process of revising them in a way that makes sense then. But you can't just ignore them and pretend they don't exist. So if, for me, when I have a problem with us running our upcoming caucus by Zoom, in part because of the tactics we've seen that happened in not just our county convention in Ottawa County, certainly happened there, but in others, where people are muted for raising a point of order or for having a motion, and where they're prohibited from following the Roberts Rules of Order, which are required under our state party rules. Then, there's a problem with that kind of forum. And, I also have a problem with the way that there's all this secretive, communications happening. And here's the thing, if you have a problem with how the leader of your organization is attempting to run the organization and you have specifics that you'd like to raise with them, you're supposed to bring those concerns to them in a reasonable period of time, lay out your concerns and the reasons supporting them, and then ask them to address them. That's exactly what I did. I sent the appropriate leadership the exact laws and constitutional provisions and party bylaws and other things that are relevant. And I laid it all out very factually and very straightforward and very clear. It's not full of my opinions. It's literally chock full of all the rule of law. And then I asked for a response. Either way, just give me a response so that I can, we can have this in, respectful dialogue and figure out how to resolve some of these issues. And it sounds like one of the only people that did not get a response. And in fact, my information was forwarded on to county chairs to share in a disparaging fashion. And the information was shared on to some other attorney who's getting paid, mind you. I'm not getting paid to argue a bunch of nonsense. With that being said, for those of you concerned about the points that are raised there, or you're trying to sort through the details, let me bring you back to a few key points. Number one, as a good friend of mine, a good recently made friend, has pointed out, in Michigan, we follow Michigan law, not Ohio law. Also, in the United States, under Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution, we are guaranteed a Republican form of government. Furthermore, in Article 1 and Article 2 and Article 3 of our U.S. Constitution, it spells out what each branch is supposed to be doing, each branch of government, the executive, the legislative, and judicial. Then if you look at our state constitution, you see that in Article 3, Section 2, it says that we have a separation of powers, which is not a doctrine, it's an actual thing. And that no one person exercising the powers of one branch of government can then turn around and exercise the powers of another branch of government. Well, look at then Article 4, which explains the powers of the legislative branch of government, Article 5, which explains the executive branch of government and those powers, and Article 6, which talks about the judicial branch and all of the powers in there. Don't forget Article 11, especially Section 1, that says that we all, any branch of government or any employee in government of any level, of any branch, you have to take and abide by the constitutional oath of office to uphold the U.S. and state constitution. So what does this mean? If you are a judge, you don't make laws. You are literally there to apply the particular law at hand to the particular set of facts at hand, and then make sure the proper procedures within the courtroom are followed. That is the job of the judicial branch, not to make laws. So when I point out in any information that I have shared, any of the law, the actual law, meaning the statutes, the things that were written up as bills and signed by the governor and passed into law, that's what I have shared with people. Or bylaws of the state party, or our state or federal constitutions. And what is brought back is no response to the actual laws I have shared, but some stretch of different case law, right? That is not law because it's judge opinions, and ignoring the actual language of the real law itself. And then also including cases from other states when we are not Ohio. So with that being said, I'd ask you guys to really understand things. Think of anyone who is a new delegate or alternate, and you're wondering how some of this really works out. You've never been to state convention, you've never been to county, or excuse me, district caucus, you don't know what any of this looks like. Think about it this way. Ask someone who has been there. I've been there. My husband's been there. We've supported people that were running for statewide offices and things of that nature. We've helped on campaigns. We've worked in all kinds of capacities there with state conventions in recent years. And you have, when you walk in the room from the very back, you have the area that is essentially open to the public. Guests are allowed to come in. In fact, one thing we might want to point out is, let's see here. In the Michigan Republican Party Caucus and Convention Rules, Rule number 16, this is for 2021, the Rule number 16 states that the county and state conventions shall, meaning must, encourage the broadest possible participation by everyone in party affairs. So when you have some other attorneys or political know-it-alls who try to tell people, well, it doesn't make sense to try to involve everyone and not just Republicans. We don't actually register as, Republicans or Democrats when we register to vote here. You can vote in a primary for the Democrat ticket on in August and turn around in November and just vote for the Republican ticket all the way down. There's no problem with that. That's the way our system is set up. We shall encourage the broadest possible participation by everyone in party affairs. Doesn't just say Republicans. It continues by saying, for those that are still skeptical, the county conventions and state conventions must be open meetings. In case anyone is still wondering if these are supposed to be open meetings, it actually says it in here, okay? So, and this is for Michigan, the county conventions and state conventions shall be open meetings, and it continues, comma, and all citizens who are qualified electors. Now let's break that down. What does that mean? Here in Michigan, that means you are a registered voter. You are a U.S. citizen and a registered voter. Then you are a citizen who is a qualified elector. So all U.S. citizens who are registered voters are not just allowed, but they are urged to participate in the county convention and state convention and the in-between, which is the district caucuses. These are not my words. These are actually word for word, verbatim, out of the MRP rules for the 2021 conventions. Then there's those people that are worried and saying that, well, we're breaking the law because we're not following the MDHHS orders. And some people have ignorantly said the executive orders. First of all executive orders, well, they were unconstitutional from the get-go, so we didn't have to follow them. But the Supreme Court has said that after April 30th, they didn't have even legal authority of any kind from any law. So there has been no executive order lawfully in place since April 30th. Seriously. And at no point were they ever considered laws. Second of all, the MDHHS orders are epidemic orders, but in the law, they're referred to as emergency orders. And those also are not laws. The orders that have been issued this year by MDHHS are not actually following the law that that supposedly give them the power, right? And I've done whole videos on that. There's all kinds of written explanations. I'm not going to waste your time with that here, but they are not law. They do not follow the law that gives them authority in the first place. And even if you want to follow them anyway, then actually follow them, because you need to look at one part that says the limitation on, this is from the MDHHS order. It's written in the current one that's in place right now. It's also written in the one that at midnight tonight is going to take effect for the next couple of weeks or so. And they both say that the limitations on gatherings do not apply to voting or official election-related activities. And again, if you're wondering at all why this would be a voting or official election-related activity, please keep in mind that these very caucuses and procedures and conventions are actually governed by none other than the Michigan election law. So they are actually procedures and voting pieces that are covered under Michigan election law, and therefore voting or official election-related activities. But also, this order does not apply to functions of government required by law or the Constitution. That's written in Section 10G of this new order. Again, this is a function of government. Why? Because literally the whole process is built into Michigan law. What we're doing at these conventions and why and how we're doing it is covered by Michigan election law. And we as precinct delegates are voted on at a public election, at the primary elections, and we have to take an oath of office, and we are considered government public officials by a wide variety of laws. I just pulled out several in one of my recent letters to share with people so that they could understand the context, but precinct delegates are public officials. And so when we are doing our job that is required by law, yes, what we're doing at convention and caucus is required by law. When we're doing that job as required by law and we are public officials doing that job, it is a government function. That same part also of the order acknowledges the constitutional protections we have, such as the freedom to assemble. Now, what's interesting, I'll just, I think this is the last thing I'll really reference about this attorney's letter that he shares, is that he talks about that we have this doctrine of freedom of association. Freedom of association. I'm just going to grab the First Amendment here. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble or to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Association. So freedom of association. Now that would be what's known as a doctrine, something that is made through case law by the by the judicial branch that has zero powers to create law whatsoever. Okay. The language of the actual Constitution gives us the unabridged freedom to peaceably assemble under the U.S. Constitution. And under our state constitution, Article 1, Section 3 says that the people have the right peaceably to assemble, to consult for the common good, to instruct their representatives, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. And these rights are to be exercised undiminished to ourselves and our posterity. So that's in our Michigan Constitution. So with that being said, if you're at all confused about what the Constitution says, the Constitution does not say we have the freedom to associate, and the freedom to associate does not then somehow create some right to keep other people out. Now, if somebody's causing a disturbance and they're not allowing the meeting to take place because that's their sole purpose is just to disturb the procedures at hand, that's one thing. And there are laws and bylaws and rules and procedures for that to be accounted for. But to just simply exclude people off the bat, that literally violates the Constitution, but it violates the MRP Caucus and Convention rules and bylaws. How much clearer can it be to say that all we are to encourage the broadest possible participation by everyone in party affairs, and also that these MRP convention rules state that these county conventions and state conventions shall be open meetings, and all registered voters, all citizens who are qualified electors, are urged to participate. Again, if you're going to try to discredit me, let's try to have an open dialogue. Let's just do a public debate. Let's do an online debate. Everybody can see it. And then they can see what actually is required by the law or not allowed by the law, such as the MDHHS orders that specifically recognize the constitutional protections we have, like the right to assemble. I mean, that's a given. And no, the right to assemble and any of the other constitutional protections, they don't go away during a pandemic or in a state of emergency. Not a thing. We have, if you think about it, in one way or another, we have had a state of emergency nonstop since before the creation of our country. We've had famine. We've had civil war. We've had war with other nations. We've had, attacks like September 11th. We've had stock market crashes. We've had the Spanish flu and the swine flu and EEE and, all kinds of other, there's always something. There's cancer. Our kids are vaping at an excessive rate. We have, the war on drugs that started in the 90s, I think it was. There's always going to be an emergency of some kind. That doesn't mean that our rights are diminished or that God says, nope, those are just gone. No, God gave us those rights. They are to be exercised undiminished, and that is guaranteed to us in our U.S. and Michigan Constitution. So with that being said, I think I've covered the main points that I wanted to share with you. Basically, here's the thing. I am only sharing this with you after a barrage of emails, Facebook posts, and other publicly disseminated information. about me, personally and professionally, that was shared not just by somebody with a loud mouth, but by chairs of congressional districts, chairs of county parties, and elected county clerks. And all those things, that's not appropriate. This is not a tit for tat situation. This is not infighting. This is more of the same old crap where people who don't want to follow the rules are just trying to attack those who do. So I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to make it personal. What I am going to do is ask you for your vote in support of the proper procedures for ways that a congressional district caucus is violating the rules that the state party requires to take place, or the procedures that a state party requires to take place, then those congressional district rules are null and void and we can't follow them. So again, if I have to choose between getting your vote on Tuesday for 2nd District Congressional Caucus, or for us to do things on the up and up and follow the rule of law, then hands down every time I'm going to say, then don't vote for me, but please follow the rule of law. So hopefully that handles everything. Oh my goodness, are you on this at all? Are there any questions, or did you watch the older ones?
Yes, I started from the beginning.
Okay, guys, I'm just gonna my petition for the constitutional amendment is not being circulated right now. If there's another group, if Stand Up Michigan or another organization wants to take it on, great. My fight on all kinds of other constitutional fronts is consuming my time. So we tried the first time and didn't quite make our signature goals. So it may be taken up in the future, but it's not on my agenda at this point. Thank you, Cindy. I really appreciate that. Awesome. So someone just said they signed up for our new platform. I do invite you to join wethepeople.restorefreedomkh.com. It is a social media platform for people who understand that the Constitution is the primary foundation for all things government here in our country. And with that in mind, there's no, censorship. You're signing up with that understanding. Now, if somebody wants to go on there and advocate that we have to have mandatory vaccines, or businesses should be shut down by governors, or anything else like that that clearly violates the Constitution, that stuff would be removed, and that person would also be removed from the platform. But if you're following the basic principles of our government and our Constitution, post what you want. That is fine. Especially if you have truth, if you have information on election integrity, or truth about vaccines, or information, directly from the CDC or VAERS, or, anything like that, this is that open forum to do that. You can make groups, you can have your own profile. I welcome you to join us with that. So that is We the People .restorefreedomkh.com. And you can also just go to our website, restorefreedomkh.com, and you'll be able to click on the button. I think it's at the very top. It says click here for We the People social media platform. So I am just looking to make sure there is nothing that you guys have as questions that I need to address. Thank you, Dwayne. I really appreciate it. Let me see here. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate your prayers, Leslie. And so I am not seeing any questions. If I am missing a question you have, if I'm missing, a point that you are raising, I'm not ignoring you. I don't care if you're on the other side. I don't care if you're one of the individuals who know who you are and you're trolling me and you have some point that you want to bring up. I'm not ignoring you. I'll talk about it right here and right now. In fact, I'd ask you to please comment. If you're going to comment anywhere, let's just get it out in the open. Let's just do it. Because none of you have returned any of my communication. None of you have ever returned any of my direct communication. Once. I once received, in all of this garbage, I received from my county chair acknowledgement that I wanted to be put on the ballot for state delegate. I'm pretty sure that is the only communication I've ever received from her. And I take that back. Then I also received communication, finally, the only one communication I've ever received from my district chair was to say that he acknowledged that I was wanting to be placed on the ballot for state committee. That's it. And no communication since, and certainly no communication on any of the topics that we've been talking about. So oh, let's see. Are you scrolling through just to see if we have any other?
Yeah, I'm only looking at YouTube. I just got into Facebook.
Oh, because you can't.
I can't share it.
Oh, shoot. Okay. I forget that we have both Facebook and YouTube on here. And let's see. This is great. I have another app that's on top of it. I can't see the comments.
It's amazing how much you're being throttled.
Okay. So anyway, that is all the questions I see. I really appreciate those of you who have tuned in, whether you're on my side or some other side. I just ask you to follow the rule of law. I ask you to follow what parameters that Christ has set forth for us. If you have a problem with someone, you bring it to them. And I did, by the way. I've tried to meet in person with the person most in charge of these recent communications that have been sent out to the public. I have not sent out any emails to the public. I have not sent out any kind of documents to the public or anything like that. I have communicated within my own Slate team, and I've communicated directly with the leadership in charge of some of these procedures, and that's it. So now, given that that information has been disseminated widely, and my name is trying to be discredited, me personally, now is when I decided that I would speak up and speak out. And so I encourage you to read Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised. I encourage you to understand what a point of order is, and that it's not just people that are fighting. It's actually, if a proper point of order is raised, it is because the person in charge of the meeting or convention or caucus is actually breaking the rules. So the only way to have a fair election, the only way to have a fair procedure in any kind of setting like this is if we follow the rules by which we have agreed to participate, not which a few select individuals have tried to cram down our throats and say, oh, by the way, this is what we're doing. So please read Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised. Please read your state constitution, at the very least, Article 1 of the state constitution and the preamble. Please read your United States Constitution. At the very least, please read the preamble of the U.S. Constitution and the first 14 amendments of the U.S. Constitution. And again, if you have questions for me on these issues, whenever I'm in one of these settings like this, please don't hesitate to ask. You don't have to be my friend to get the truth out of me. Everyone gets the truth out of me. That's just who I am. So I thank you all for participating in this conversation. And sorry, I see maybe 2 questions. Is anyone suggesting that for you to run for your position means you have to not follow the rules? They are just making up what the rules are, and they are ignoring what the state rules are. They're also ignoring what the state law is. They're basically ignoring everything. So nothing specific to my position, just about the caucus in general. What legislation should we be asking our legislature for to get fair elections? I will definitely be working on that. The question about fair elections, this video is not really the video to answer that in, but I will definitely be addressing that in times. And restaurants can open, but I see that I'm starting to get, if you want to get involved, okay, that's the last question I'll answer because I have to get to writing another brief on some constitutional issues on a case. But if you want to get involved, then please make sure that you try to, you run for precinct delegate, that you talk to your county chair of your GOP, ask them how you can become a precinct delegate, if there's a way for you to fill any open vacancies, if there's ways for you to get training on what precinct delegates are supposed to do and what they're allowed to do. Make sure that you attend your local party meetings. They are open, so you can go to any official GOP meeting in any county, and you can also go to the district caucus meetings. You can, and I encourage you to go to your local government meetings, your township meetings, your township board meetings, and your city council meetings, and your school board meetings. Do any kind of, if your legislator is advertising any like coffee hour with them, the in-district time. Some of the bad ones only do a couple hours here and there, like, a couple hours a week. Some of the great ones have like an entire day, and then they just hop around from one community to the next within their district to make sure they're having availability for everyone involved. Make sure that you're utilizing those times, and email your state reps and state legislators, even if they don't answer. Send them text messages or Facebook messages, or comment on their social media posts. Reach out to them on Twitter. If they're rhinos, then they still have their Twitter accounts for sure. And some of us conservatives are still lucky enough to, I think I still have my Twitter account. Last I checked, I still had my Twitter account. So please make sure that you are staying informed and staying involved in that way. And even if local people are trying to keep you out, push you out, and keep you down and away from participating, don't let that stop you. Please let that be the very fire that ignites within you to get you even more involved and more connected. And join up with organizations like Restore Freedom. We're going to start having regular communications and newsletters and things like that, calls to action sent out. I think Stand Up Michigan might still be doing that. American Patriot Council isn't doing as much right now, but they may go back to doing that. Not sure exactly what Patriot Hub is doing. There's Guardians for Freedom. There's We the County is an organization that's branching out throughout our state. All of these, I ask you to stay involved with. I encourage you, Michigan for Vaccine Choice, that obviously is specific to medical freedom issues. Michigan Coalition for Responsible Gun Owners and Michigan Open Carry are obviously two of our grassroots organizations specific to Second Amendment issues, or Article 1, Section 6 of our state constitution. So I ask you to, get memberships to those organizations. Start with the free ones. See which organizations you feel like you benefit from the most, or feel like you can participate in the most, and then bump up to the paid memberships. I ask you, though, to be involved. Don't ever let anyone tell you you're not smart enough to read the law, you're not smart enough to read the Constitution, or you're not good enough to participate in any of this, because if you're a United States citizen, that is your qualification. So again, thanks everybody. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And if you are in the 2nd Congressional District, I really do appreciate those of you who are supporting me and who will vote for me on Tuesday. Thanks all. Have a great night.